empire. You know what I'm saying? You're involved with corporate America, but your involvement is different.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You don't get paid every 2 weeks.
No.
I do. You know what I'm saying? Before we do anything, man, congratulations on the residency.
Yeah, man.
Hey, bro, that residency says 50 Cent presents.
Yeah.
We were all wrong about Sean Combs. Turns out, he was just the distraction. While the cameras were trained on his mugshot, while the headlines screamed about his guilty verdict, while the world dissected every sordid detail of his trial, someone else was quietly erasing their tracks. And no, we're not talking about some low-level associate or a paid-off lawyer. We're talking about the one man who spent 30 years convincing us he was too smart, too powerful, too clean to ever get his hands dirty. The same man whose name keeps popping up in sealed affidavits, whose lawyers are suddenly threatening everyone from tabloid reporters to former friends, whose phone records allegedly place him at the center of the storm. You already know who we mean. But here's what you don't know. The Federal Bureau of Investigation isn't just building a case against Sean Combs. They're following a paper trail that leads straight to a man who spent decades making sure no one ever followed anything straight to him. And if the people talking now are telling the truth, then the real crime boss wasn't the one in handcuffs. It was the one still smiling in the front row.
I think that they don't want, if they was in any of those freak-off tapes, if they played a part in any of those Diddy sessions, they don't want it to get out to the general public.
We've spent months watching Sean Combs' empire crumble. First the raids. Then the guilty verdict on those solicitation-related charges. The damning testimony from Cassie Ventura about the so-called freak-offs. The civil lawsuits piling up like a house of cards in a hurricane. But here's what we haven't been told. While Diddy was the face of the operation, the man pulling the strings may have been standing just out of frame. That's right, Jay-Z. The same Sean Carter who spent decades crafting an image of untouchable sophistication, the billionaire businessman, the family man, the cultural icon. Except now the cracks are showing, and the questions are getting louder. Why is Jay's name surfacing in the same civil filings as Diddy's? Why did his legal team rush to threaten anyone connecting the two? And why, in the weeks before Diddy's arrest, did Jay's phone allegedly ping near locations tied to some of Diddy's most notorious gatherings?
So what happens now is this is simply a civil complaint. And in a civil complaint, it goes through the technical legal process. Now, the distinction, Jessica, between civil and criminal, of course, is that civil is for monetary damages, right? The system can only reward you with money. There's allegations that this 13-year-old is suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, suffered depression, etc. So now you go to...
Let's start with the money, because in these circles, the money always tells the truth. Court documents reveal a $12 million transfer from Roc Nation to a shell company listed under entertainment expenses for Bad Boy Records. That's not a loan. That's not a business deal. That's a payment. And it landed in an account flagged in Diddy's ongoing investigations. Then there are the texts. Messages obtained by investigators, yes, the same ones now in the FBI's hands, show Jay and Diddy coordinating Miami arrangements the very weekend Cassie Ventura's lawsuit dropped. Not a coincidence. A pattern. And patterns are what prosecutors build cases on. But here's where it gets even messier. The women speaking now aren't just naming Diddy, they're describing a system. One where Diddy was the muscle, the visible force, the man who'd slap a drink out of your hand or drag you into a back room. But Jay? He was the strategist. The one who made sure the doors stayed locked, the cameras stayed off, and the right people got paid to stay quiet. Multiple sources close to the case have said the same thing. Diddy's tapes, the ones we've all heard about, were just the tip of the iceberg. The real leverage, they say, was in Jay's possession. And if that's true, then the question isn't just what Jay did, it's what he's still hiding.
With the scenes, with the film.
I mean, I think the intention is to give a more full-bodied experience to what happened, you know, from from the people that agreed to sit down and to participate. And I feel like the film asks a lot of questions, you know, maybe more questions are asked than...
Now let's talk about the documentary, Sean Combs, The Reckoning, executive produced by 50 Cent. It didn't just expose Diddy, it dropped breadcrumbs leading straight to Jay-Z. And 50 isn't subtle. He's been teasing this for months, reposting old clips, laughing at Jay's legal threats, even joking that Jay's silence is the loudest confession of all. Remember the testimony from Diddy's former security head, Roger Bonds? He described how Jay and Diddy would show up at the same parties, the same after-hours spots, but never seemed to leave together. That's not just an observation. That's a tell. And then there's the Jane Doe lawsuit, the one that named both men in the same breath, alleging they were present during an assault on a minor in 2000. Jay's team called it blackmail. But here's the thing, blackmail only works if there's something to hide.
As far as, is he going to turn people in? Is he going to cooperate? If the federal government wants him to cooperate, and they're going to cut his time, because right now he's looking at 15 to life. With all the charges he has to, he won't get out until 70 years old. He's about 70, that's when they start talking about.
And let's not forget the timing. Diddy's sentencing is Friday, up to 20 years maximum. But the real sentence, the one that has Jay's team sweating, is the cooperation deal. Because if Diddy is talking, and sources say he is, then Jay's name isn't in the footnotes. It's in the indictment. We've seen this before. The moment one kingpin flips, the dominoes fall. And Jay-Z isn't just any domino, he's the one holding up the entire table. Then there's Jaguar Wright. She didn't just call Jay worse than Diddy, she described scars, physical proof. And she wasn't alone. Former associates, security personnel, even artists who worked under both men are whispering the same thing. Jay wasn't just aware. He was active. And if that's true, then Beyonce isn't just his wife, she's his last alibi. Because no one stays this powerful, this protected, without someone powerful protecting them.
Weirdo. I don't get no what you got in your head, that neural link. You'll never outthink me.
We've all wondered how Jay-Z stayed untouchable for so long. But here's the real question. What did Beyonce have to ignore to keep it that way? Because if Jay is the puppet master, then she isn't just his partner, she's part of the machine. And that's where this gets dangerous. The FBI doesn't just want Diddy. They want the network. They want the names at the top of the call logs, the signatures on the checks, the voices in the background of those tapes. And if Jay's name is on that list, then this isn't just a scandal. It's a reckoning.
If that's part of the indictment, that's somewhat like a blackmail. He was blackmailing people to be in the freak-offs. So that's federal. That could be that's a federal charge. He can't blackmail people to say, yo, listen here, you did it once and you're gonna do it again. That ain't gonna make it with the government or no.
The moment Diddy's legal team started whispering to prosecutors, the game changed. This wasn't about reducing a sentence. It was about survival. And in a room full of FBI agents with leverage, survival means one thing: giving them a bigger name. Multiple sources inside the courthouse confirmed that Diddy's cooperation isn't just about his own crimes, it's about the system that protected him. A system that allegedly had Jay-Z's fingerprints all over it. Subpoenas are flying to former Bad Boy and Roc Nation employees. Grand jury testimonies are coming from people who once answered directly to Sean Carter. And the paper trail doesn't just connect the two men, it shows who was really in charge. One investigator put it bluntly. Diddy was the muscle. Jay was the brain. And brains leave evidence.
Jay?
Yeah.
At this point? Nah, I would want, why?
Let's talk about the pattern, because that's what prosecutors live for. Start with 2000. the house party where Jane Doe claims Jay-Z and Sean Combs were both present during an assault on a minor. Then jump to 2003, when Kathy White, Jay-Z's alleged pregnant mistress, passed away from a sudden aneurysm just 24 hours after telling friends she was going public with their relationship. Fast forward to 2018, when $12 million moved from Roc Nation to a shell company tied to Diddy's entertainment expenses, the same year Cassie Ventura alleges she was coerced into those infamous gatherings. Then there are the 2022 texts, recovered from a confiscated phone, where Jay and Diddy allegedly coordinate Miami arrangements the very weekend Cassie's lawsuit drops. Coincidence? Not when you add in the NDA payouts, 7 figures to at least 3 women tied to both men, all structured through the same law firm. This isn't a scattering of bad decisions. It's a blueprint. And blueprints get you indicted. But here's what makes this different from every other hip-hop scandal. Jay-Z didn't just participate in the system, he allegedly designed it. Former employees describe a 2-tiered operation. Diddy handled the chaos, the parties, the visible excess. Jay handled the cleanup, the payments, the threats, the silence. One bad boy insider recalled that after a particularly messy incident in Los Angeles, it was Jay's team that arranged for security footage to disappear, while Diddy's people made sure the right people got paid to stay quiet. Another source, a former Roc Nation accountant, claims there was a standing monthly budget labeled Special Projects, cash flowing to the same shell companies tied to Diddy's legal troubles. And then there are the tapes. Not just Diddy's infamous recordings, but the ones Jay allegedly kept for himself. Multiple people have now confirmed their existence to investigators. The question isn't whether they'll surface. It's what happens when they do.
Jay-Z got his whooped by his sister-in-law on camera. What's her name? Solange. You got it after. The feds ain't step in and do nothing. The feds don't care about you getting your ass whooped.
This wasn't a solo operation. Jay-Z had help. Lawyers who buried evidence under attorney-client privilege. Publicists who killed stories before they reached print. Record executives who looked the other way when young artists suddenly exited the industry after refusing certain opportunities. And let's not forget the media. The same outlets that would destroy a lesser star over a fraction of these allegations have spent years treating Jay like royalty. Why? Because Roc Nation owns stakes in many of them. Because advertising dollars from Tidal paid the bills. Because when you're the most powerful man in the room doesn't just stay quiet, it lies for you. But lies only work if everyone keeps telling them. And right now, the people who used to lie for Jay-Z are starting to talk. And if we're talking about power, we can't ignore the one person who's been standing in the shadows this whole time, Beyoncé. Her silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. While the world focuses on Jay-Z's legal troubles, her team has allegedly been working overtime to ensure the right stories never see daylight. Legal threats to outlets digging into her husband's past. 7-figure NDAs offered to former associates. Public statements so carefully worded they deny nothing while implying everything. This isn't a woman caught off guard. This is a woman playing the long game. And in Beyoncé's world, the long game isn't about truth. It's about control.
I know so much on how you got where you are. How you stepped on many people.
The psychological warfare started years ago. Remember the elevator incident involving Solange? The public saw a family dispute. Insiders saw a warning. Beyoncé didn't just survive that moment, she weaponized it, turning a potential scandal into a narrative about sisterhood and resilience. Now, as the walls close in on Jay-Z, she's allegedly using the same playbook. Accusers describe sudden pressure not only from Jay's lawyers, but from Beyoncé's. Calls linked to Parkwood Entertainment. Veiled threats about career consequences. Strategic leaks from sources close to the family designed to shift the narrative. This isn't damage control. It's a counteroffensive. And Beyoncé doesn't lose counteroffensives.
Waste my time.
And sometimes you respond to something that brings way more attention to it, too.
That too, and it's just, it goes into another space, and then you just like, oh, y'all not listening to me.
But then you'll have somebody that'll say to you.
Then there's the money, because make no mistake, this isn't about love. It's about a brand valued at over $5 billion. A brand built on empowerment, flawlessness, and being the opposite of everything Jay-Z scandals represent. One unchecked allegation, and the house of cards doesn't wobble, it collapses. Disney partnerships. Ivy Park deals. A legacy carefully curated over 2 decades, positioning Beyoncé as the embodiment of excellence. All of it hinges on one thing, the illusion of perfection. Perfection doesn't allow for a husband tied to trafficking allegations, hidden tapes, and a trail of silenced women. So when people ask why Beyoncé hasn't spoken out, the answer isn't fear, it's math. The math of a woman who knows her net worth is directly tied to her ability to control the story. But control only works if you're willing to do whatever it takes to keep it. The NDAs aren't just for Jay-Z's accusers, they're for anyone who might implicate her by association. The legal threats aren't just about protecting him, they're about protecting her. Because in the court of public opinion, guilt isn't just about what you did. It's about what you knew. And if the investigation expands, if cooperation leads to subpoenas for Beyoncé's communications, if even one witness says she knew, then the empire doesn't crack, it shatters. The real question isn't whether she'll stand by her man. It's whether she'll sacrifice him.
I guess he's holding the flag, so he did the right thing for his camp, and but I didn't take it as a real threat. I took it as a flip of a line.
Which brings us to the one name no one's saying out loud yet, Kathy White. The pregnant mistress. The sudden aneurysm. The coroner with a history of falsified records. A case closed before it ever truly began. For years, it was dismissed as a tragic footnote, until last month, when the New York Police Department quietly reopened the file. Why now? Because new witnesses have come forward. Because the same coroner allegedly appeared in prior investigations connected to Diddy. Because Kathy's family has started asking who she was seen with in the days before she died. According to detectives familiar with the case, the timeline doesn't add up. Kathy White didn't just collapse. She was healthy. She was young. And she was about to go public. So when investigators start reopening files, re-interviewing hotel staff, subpoenaing phone records, you don't need a badge to know what they're looking for. They're looking for a connection. And in this story, there's only one that matters. Diddy's conviction was the first domino. The subpoenas were the second. Kathy White's case may be the last one standing. And when it falls, it won't just be Jay-Z. It will be the lawyers, the publicists, the executives, and the artists who stayed silent because they were next. This isn't just a scandal. It's an unraveling. So ask the question no one else will. How many more stories were buried? How many people were paid to stay quiet? Because this time, there's no NDA big enough to stop what's coming. Stay sharp. Stay skeptical. And remember, when the truth comes out, it's never just about one man. It's about the machine that protected him. And machines always break down in the end. We'll be watching. You should be too.